Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. Wait a second. I've been thriving loud my entire life. When the heck am I going to be a guest on one of these shows? Lou Diamond, isn't that the guy on like late night TV that's trying to sell you something?
Now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where we're going to get loud.
Holy crap, here we go.
I like telling stories.
I learn best through experiences.
Everything I do is because of everything I did.
Talk about having maximum impact while having a ton of fun.
When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
Wow, bring it on.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, listeners, I got to tell you, I'm excited because this is long overdue. We have for you an international certified coach, certified trainer, and a professional speaker, a member of the National Speaker Association and part of the C-Suite Network as a C-Suite Network advisor, a man who is passionate about working with leaders to accelerate performance and drive impact through the power of coaching, facilitation, and the spoken word. He has been called a specialist and a deep generalist and has chilled out at La Casa Diamante. From Houston, Texas, Thrive Out listeners, I bring you the consummate, friendly, professional, Eddie Turner. Eddie, how are you today, my friend?
Hello, Lou. I'm well, thank you. And my, oh my, I don't know if I can live up to everything you said, but thank you.
Eddie, you do live up to everything you say. And this is really funny. I actually, before we did this interview, was having a conversation with a fellow NSA member. And I actually got off the phone with this individual and said, you know, I'm about to go have Eddie Turner come on Thrive Loud. And they gave that title. He's the consummate friendly professional. I feel so comfortable working with him, and he's always on his game. And Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat because that is true. You can hear it in his voice and for what he does. So I'm excited to have you on, Eddie.
Well, I appreciate it. And I am really excited to be able to talk with you and be on your show. So thank you for having me.
So what we normally do here, we need to give the Thrive Loud listeners a little bit of an education. In this words, I'm going to call this an education. So Eddie, if you could help bring us up to speed on kind of how you got to doing what you're doing right now. We'll go through a little bit of your journey, and I will interject appropriately because I have a feeling we'll have a lot to talk about back and forth here. What do you think?
Sure. That sounds good.
All right. Kick us off, man. Take us wherever you want to get to, whatever is the most relevant right now.
Well, I spent about 15 years or so in information technology, and I was always the information technology person who could relate to people. And so that always led me to the C-suite. So at a certain point, someone said to me, you should become a coach. And I laughed. But here I am today, an executive and a leadership coach. And I still apply my technical skills to my coaching, which is something I can tell you about a little bit later based on this conference I just left. But the ideal is helping leaders to accelerate their performance and drive an impact in whatever that they're trying to do, be it in business, be it in government, be it in the private sector. And so I've had an opportunity to develop IT professionals, people in healthcare, people in government, actually, across the spectrum in their leadership capacity.
Eddie, I want to get onto two pieces here because both of us are coaches and we love the ability to work one-on-one or with groups. What do you love specifically doing from the coaching aspect? What's your favorite way to coach organization, plural, organizations?
That's a great question. So I love coaching individuals one-on-one. At this conference I just left, we talked about the idea that team coaching, because of the nature of business and because of the VUCA, if you will, world that we're living in, standing for volatile, uncertain, changing, ambiguous, team coaching is becoming a hot topic. And there's a huge gap because not a lot of people know how to coach a team. So we talked about the models that are available for coaching teams and what that should look like. So for me, I would tell you that when I work with teams, I am usually working with teams as a facilitator and not a coach. So coaching one-on-one with individuals, I put in one bucket. Coaching people as a team or facilitating a team, I put in a different bucket altogether.
It's funny because, and that's really interesting. I've done a bunch of workshops where it's really funny. The skill set of facilitation is one that really requires a whole new level. It's not so much, there's lots of coaching tools that go in, but there's also how to command and lead an organization, like you said, to help drive impact or to get your message across. Can you share with the Thrive Loud listeners, because I know facilitation is one of your sweet spots. Can you help share some of the techniques that you use in helping to facilitate a lot of these teams that you work with?
Sure. Thank you, Lou. So there's two things I'd say on facilitation. Number one, oftentimes when people say facilitation, they have different viewpoints on what that looks like. So the first I'd share is that training is what people used to refer to a lot of times when they talked about helping a group of people to learn or to get to a particular destination. But training has often been viewed as a one-directional delivery of knowledge, whereas facilitation, instead of being a monologue, it's a true dialogue. And quite frankly, in facilitation, the fundamental belief is that the expertise lies in the room and not necessarily with the facilitator themselves. So in facilitation of learning delivery, yes, the facilitator is the expert in transferring their knowledge, but rather than using the old pedagogical approach of you're the expert, do all the talking to get this knowledge into the learners, the facilitative approach says involve the learners more than you talk. Now, going on to the other side of a workshop where you're trying to pull the best out of a group, the facilitator believes that they should talk far less. In fact, I use the 80-20 model, quite frankly, when facilitating. I happen to sit on the board for the International Institute for Facilitation, and we certify facilitators at the highest level, at the mastery level. And there's a set of competencies that we look for that exceed anything in the training industry and, quite frankly, anything else in the facilitation industry, because we are so passionate about what a good facilitator looks like. In fact, what a master facilitator looks like.
It is, by the way, it's an essential skill. And I have a lot of other colleagues who I partner with or I bring into a lot of the work that I do with clients. And there are those that are just spectacular at really making the room take that energy and make sure that, I love what you said in the 80-20 rule. It's getting the group to come up with a lot of the answers, and how people navigate that is a real skill. It's a really great leadership skill in reality that a lot of leaders actually need to start deploying in their own organization, which is where I wanted to move this to. A lot of the skills that you have and your expertise in helping to drive impact, have you seen a lot of the leaders you've worked with adopt a lot of the ways that you actually help coach and facilitate to help take their organizations to the next level?
Absolutely. To your point, Lou, that's something I'll be talking about in my book that comes out in the second half of the year. And that is facilitative leadership, because facilitation is a core leadership skill for the future, I believe, because of the power that it has. So with leadership and with these groups, one of the things I stress with any leader that I'm working with is it allows you to lead in a way that you've not led before. Because when you tap into the power of another individual and allow them to come up with the answer, now they own it, as opposed to you as a leader always setting the direction or telling people where to go. Obviously, leaders have to set a vision, have to set a tone, but you will find more compliance, more energy, and more drive in people if you allow them to be a part of the solution. And in fact, again, sometimes they have the better idea than we might have as a leader. So facilitative leadership is truly a skill of the future.
I'm looking forward to this book. I'm also looking forward, which we'll get to in a little bit, that eventually you're going to have your own podcast show. For the listeners here, Eddie has a voice that just rocks right now, by the way. I mean, like it's hitting all the right levels and spikes on the mic here. It's really good. You know, you may not be putting me out of work here. So, you know, you never know. At least we can use
hardly.
All right. So Eddie, speaking of speaking, I've actually had the great fortune to hear you speak. So now I want to just put a little prioritization. You coach, you facilitate, you also speak. Which do you like doing best?
That's an interesting question. Which do I like doing best? I really love them all. I tell people that after coaching people one-on-one and facilitating workshops with groups, really good stories come from those two things that end up in a speech. So, and it's really quite, frankly, how it happens. When people say, "What do you do for a living?" I always say, I help people. Because at the end of the day, be it one-on-one as a coach, be it in a group as a facilitator, or as a larger group, a larger audience as a keynote speaker, it's at the end of the day helping people. And we don't coach, we don't facilitate or give a speech without the goal of helping people change. We want them to change and take action on what we're saying. And so I love all three. I guess I probably have been speaking longer than the other two. So I would probably say if I had to pick one, speaking.
I can't wait to vote for you for one of these, for an election with how well you answered that question. I look one day to see you on a ballot because somebody would always get my vote. All right. So a signature question that I love to ask all the guests that come on the show, Eddie. You've had a great career. You're an entrepreneur unto yourself. You've built a great practice. You've also been getting out there more. And obviously a book is coming with all this stuff. There's so many things happening all at once. And that's why you're on the show. But when you have trouble thriving, who do you turn to get back on the thriving track? Or what do you turn to?
That's another good question, Lou. You know, as a sounding board, I think I have to always go back to my mom. And then now I have a beautiful wife who keep me honest in terms of who I am and grounded in core values. But I have a set of what I refer to as my own personal board of directors. Mm-hmm. And that board of directors has a key set of advisors who help me chart my own course, chart my path. And those individuals are mentors and advisors who guide me on business, guide me on my own development, guide me on in life. And so those individuals, really, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to both male and female who help me stay grounded, stay focused, and progressing in what I feel is the right direction.
I love it. Love the answer, and very well put together here. And yeah, we do need our own. The board of directors is something that I'm a big fan of, and we even have a one-off meeting once a year in person. A lot of them are individual calls, but it's a great piece of advice and something to look to. And I'm glad it helps take you to that level because you are that thriving guy, Eddie. So for those who've never seen Eddie in person, there'll be a lovely, good-looking picture here, which I'm looking at right in front of my screen. It'll be on the artwork of this show. Eddie is a dynamic, confident individual. And he's a really tall, big guy because every time I hug him, he's kind of like, he'll engulf you and let you know that. I wanted to ask you from your experience in getting around in the world that we do when we get out there, you're right now really developing a brand, but you also have this gift. When I said you're the consummate friendly professional, the first thing I think of, or whenever I say Eddie Turney's name, people smile. How the heck do you get people to be this way? What is it from your mom? Is it the cooking you grow up with? Because I will tell you, I say this wholeheartedly. It is impossible to dislike Eddie Turney. You can't not love him. So I just want to know what is in the magic water that you grew up with that everybody walks through and says, Eddie Turner. And they just they light up. Tell me what it is and tell the listeners.
I don't know about that, Lou. I think you're much too kind. I got a list of people who might disagree with you, but I would say that, I go back to my mom, the way my mom and dad raised me. It just created within me a love of people. And so I genuinely love being around people, and I'm energized when I'm around people. And so I'm just happy.
That's good. It definitely comes out. Let's talk about some of the things that are coming up down the road. I want to hear a little bit that you're planning on actually producing a podcast show. You want to share that with the community here?
That was just something I shared with you in private, but it's a goal. It's on my goal.
It's on your goal list.
When I open up and see everything that you're doing, and I see the way it looked, I was pretty impressed. But it was one of the goals that I set, and you have stuck to it and accomplished it when we met at the C-suite conference about a year ago. And that was one of the big things they were promoting and telling us to do. So I put it on my to-do list, but I figured I needed to get a book or two out here first. And so definitely the podcast is something I was sharing with you that, yes, I'm right behind you. That's going to come out for next year.
well, we look forward to it. And now that, anything you share with me is coming out into the world. Come on now. That's just the way it works, right?
Now I'm committed for sure.
Well, we'll make it clear. If you need any voiceover work, we're going to have to go shopping for some. But if you want to guest, I'll sign me up. I'll come right on.
I'm looking forward to having you on my show.
All right. So let's do some things. You've been doing a lot of traveling. You've been going to some great events. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you've been doing of late that you've really been in contact with that's been very effective and is maybe also helping you craft a lot more of your message in your practice, because a lot of great things are going on. I know you've been traveling everywhere.
Well, I, as a coach, believe that after a certain point, we can't continue to give out. We have to replenish and we have to fill up our own bucket. And so I have spent the entire month literally doing that. Every week I've been someplace for my own personal leadership development. I spent the first week at the International Conference and Exposition for the Association of Talent Development, ATD, where we had President Barack Obama as our opening keynote speaker. The next day we had Marcus Buckingham. We closed out with Connie Podesta, the amazing Connie of NSA, and she literally blew the place up. It was amazing what she did. And so I followed that up with another program at Harvard, the John F. Kennedy School, where I was able to study moral leadership and look at leadership from a different aspect. And a lot of my best training has come from the Kennedy School and the programs I've done there. And then this week I have been at the conference for those that measure excellence in executive coaching. And I was very pleased that one of my clients, Rice University, was recognized. I submitted them because of the work that they're doing and the power that they have had over young people. Every single student gets coaching at Rice University who's interested, all 6,200. No other university is doing that to turn young people into leaders. And I have the great privilege of being a part of that. So those are things that I've been working on just this month, but I have a book that's coming out next month.
Great.
140 simple messages to guide emerging leaders. And it's meant to be just that. It's a simple book. It's filled with basically the length of a tweet, the new length of tweets, 280 characters. And the thought behind that was this. I wrote for Forbes and I have over 35 articles published. And I did not write single articles. I contributed to their question and answer section. And when they ask you to contribute, they give you 400 characters. And I looked at how many people were reading these and I thought, there's power in these short, succinct messages. Yeah. So even though I'm not writing these as 280 versus 400, I had 2,000 people read the least read article on Forbes. The most popular ones there were 30,000 people that read them. So I believe there's a market for it. And so this book is designed to take some of the things that I use in coaching, in my speeches and facilitation, things I talk about all the time, bundle them together as a quick read for the emerging leader who wants to grow on their journey to success.
That's awesome. Let's do this as a good segue for this. Give us the plugs on where we can find everything about Eddie Turner, which obviously is going to be the location, and where we can promote the book. And we'll make sure to link out and do all the promotion as all this stuff comes out. So share with us best ways to find Eddie.
You can find me on all social media as Eddie Turner, or on Twitter and Instagram, Eddie Turner Jr. So Eddie Turner Jr. But on LinkedIn, it's just type in Eddie Turner, Facebook, Eddie Turner, and website is Eddie Turner LLC, as in Limited Liability Corporation.com.
I like it. I like it. The fact that now I know what Limited Liability Corporation stands for. No. I've always joked about the LLC. I'm like, why do we have to do this everywhere? But, it's good for tax purposes. So the tax man knows what's going on.
Yes.
So, Eddie Turner, you were nervous about this question before we got on the show. So I was dying to know it. Give me your all-time favorite movie.
Yes, I was nervous about that because anybody who knows me knows that I don't really watch a lot of TV or movies. And when you talk about movies, I'm always the clueless person in the room. So I will tell you one of the movies that I grew up on and I absolutely love. I'm going to say Samson and Delilah.
Oh, there you go. All right,
the
classic.
1950s movie. Yes. So that was because, there's something about the big, strong man. I always felt sorry for him at the end when he loses his sight because he fell for, this beautiful woman, but the biblical story and the context behind that is what I really enjoyed.
Eddie Turner, it's always fun to connect with you. Much success for the book, all the future things that come out. I look forward to eventually continuing to see you, whether on stage or everywhere that I run into you. And you're my brother from another mother, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lou.
And of course, and to all the Thrive Out listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.